Sorry ass DJ.
Hey everybody, how you doing out there? And welcome to my part 2 ranking the victims' deaths from Friday the 13th, part 6, Jason Lives. We have 7 to talk about in this part 2. So let's just get ourselves started. Number 7 is a character named Darren. So we have him and another character named Elizabeth who are driving in the woods. She's the one that's driving. They're actually lost. And at one point he even says we should just stop the car, get out, and start screaming and see if anybody will actually hear us. She actually does slam on the brakes. He's like, I was joking. And it turns out there is Jason right there standing in their way. So he decides to go in the glove department and grab a gun. So he gets himself out of the car while Elizabeth, this entire time, even before he got out of the car, let alone out of the car, saying, what are you trying to do? You're not Dirty Harry. Get back in the car. He's going to hurt you and all that there. So he's like, you know what? I'll figure this. And I was like, no, I'm going to do this here. So he points the gun at Jason. And at one point, while Jason has the fence pole, he actually ends up giving them a flat tire. And that just was one of the most funniest things that I think Jason actually did in this particular movie. I mean, there were other stuff there too, but I always get a good laugh out of that there. So the guy decides to shoot at Jason, which he doesn't realize he's a zombie there. Jason has the fence pole, pokes this guy in the stomach, and throws him over Jason's head. Just as I mentioned with Officer Thornton in part 1. In case you didn't see part 1, that was a great stunt. I thought this one was a really good stunt, and I really did like this one here. Number 6 is Elizabeth. I just thought it was just fair just to kind of put them back to back there. So the thing is that after there's some blood on the windshield, that Jason uses the pole and breaks through the glass, and thinking maybe he could have stabbed her, she ducks out of the way just in time. She crawls out of the passenger side, and she's actually crawling through mud. She ends up in a big muddy puddle. She starts pulling out her wallet, but when she looks up, Jason disappears there. So the thing is, she's kind of doing this here, and then Jason actually jumps behind her, steps right into the puddle there, has the pole, and stabs her. Now, they don't quite show if it's just in the face, in the mouth there. Stabs her, and her head goes under the water there. So she kind of has like a double death there. She gets stabbed in the face, and then she also drowns because we get a little bit of bubbles before she finally dies. And I thought that was really cool. Number 5 is going to be Morton. Now, he is the grave digger, and the thing is that he's on his way home, and he's an alcoholic, and he ends up getting himself lost. And of course, he blames the alcohol. He blames the alcohol of being lost there, which is somewhat of a chuckle out of me there. And he's like, "Hey, you're going to be the death of me," and all of that. Gives the alcohol bottle a kiss, I think, on the neck, and tosses it over his head there. And he's like, I don't hear it breaking. He looks, and you get Jason who's holding it up, which is really funny. He breaks it in half there, stabs this guy, and then we get some blood coming out of the bottleneck, which I thought was really, really cool there. And I thought, you know what, that might be all it is, but I feel like that little extra detail with the blood coming out of the bottleneck, I thought was really, really cool. Number 4 is going to be a character named Court. Now, I won't blame people if they actually put this as their number 1 here, and I think it's really a cool death. So we got Court. So he's actually driving a Winnebago after he was having sex with a character named Nikki. And so the thing is that he's just has no idea what the hell he's really doing there. And she's kind of like flipping all over the place. She ends up like landing all the way in the back in bed. And she's like, because he's shifting the vehicle. I mean, I've never drove one of these things, but I'm sure this is probably what would happen if I was driving it and other people were shaking around, or if I was one of the ones being thrown around there. But anyways, after Jason took care of Nikki, and we'll get to her when we get to her there, Jason actually walks up to Court while he's driving. He actually pulls out like sort of almost like a little bit of like a pocket knife, maybe a little bit bigger than a pocket knife there. And the thing is that Court finally looks up at the rear view mirror and sees Jason, and Jason actually grabs him from the top of the head and stabs him right in the side of the head there. And then the vehicle actually hits something and it actually flips on its side, and this is where we get that really cool shot of Jason on the Winnebago, and I thought it was so cool that I wanted to put it on both of the thumbnails. Number 3 is going to be Ellen, who is actually our very first victim. So at the very beginning, we got Alan and we got Tommy go into the graveyard. Tommy wants to verify that Jason is there so he can actually really completely send him to hell way before Jason goes to hell here. Well, of course, that doesn't quite work. Tommy starts thinking about how Jason pretty much effed with him whenever he was a young kid, played by Corey Feldman. So the thing is, Tommy ends up grabbing a fence pole, and he grabs it and he starts stabbing Jason's chest and stomach, and Alan is just like freaking out this entire time. Finally, the electricity hits this pole and wakes up Jason. Tommy is trying to throw gasoline on Jason, and he actually has a match. It starts raining, so of course the rain takes away the fire. Well, you get Alan, who comes behind Jason with a shovel and actually hits Jason in the back of the head. Of course, the shovel head actually breaks, and then Jason turns around and shoves his fist into Alan's chest and pulls out his heart, and then Alan actually falls into Jason's coffin. The coffin closes, but I thought that was a really messed up and really cool death. Number 2 is going to be Sheriff Garris. So the thing with him is that at one point after he notices, I think I said about Officer Handsome, he sees his dead body. He sees Jason, and Jason wants to attack the sheriff, and the sheriff has a shotgun. He uses the shotgun a couple times on him. He actually, of course, doesn't have any more bullets. Jason gets up, and the sheriff has to run away. Eventually, he actually is hiding in these bushes here, and he can see Jason. Jason doesn't see him. Jason hears Megan screaming for her dad. So what does dear old dad decide to do? Well, of course, you're going to protect your own daughter. So he starts going and running towards Jason and starts beating him up, and actually has like a rock, and he starts hitting Jason a couple times in his head and all that. Jason ends up finally grabbing him, I think, by the neck, and then bending him over, and I just thought, ooh, so he just kind of just bends his body in half like that. I thought, oh, that is another great one. And I will be honest, this almost was my number 1, and for the longest time it really was. But unfortunately, one other actually beat it out, and that's number 1, Nikki. That's the one where Court was having sex with her earlier before they both end up, getting their demise from Jason here. So what happens is, well, Nikki's kind of like bouncing all over the place in this Winnebago because Court really does not know what the hell he's doing. She actually walks past the bathroom, and Jason comes and grabs her by the mouth and pulls her in, and she's like struggling and screaming, and Court's just wondering what the hell she's actually doing back there. So after that, Jason ends up grabbing her from the back of the head and puts her face through the wall, and you get this huge imprint of her face there. And I know this is all ridiculous and more over the top than most of the kills in this entire franchise, but I gotta say that I think this is one of the best kills that we actually got in this entire movie. Like I said, this is a stacked house. Almost a lot of these could have actually been number 1, or hell, even could have been number 2 and all that, but I really did enjoy these. So thank you guys so much for my Ranking the Deaths Part 2 of Jason Lives. Thank you guys on that there, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have yourselves a good one. Bye.